let's continue our journey and learn more techniques of relaxation and visualization. And these techniques that I'm going to cover in this video are techniques that can be used either in the first or second stage. So whether you're doing your big balloon breath in the first stage or whether you're doing the top down breath in the second stage, relaxation will benefit you. And so these techniques can be cut up into little pieces. Some of them are better when you want a longer visualization or meditation. So we'll talk about them each specifically, and I will direct you on how to practice them. I highly encourage you to develop a practice of practice. So if you're early in your pregnancy, listening to a relaxation once a week can be great. I mean, you might want to do it even more than that. I mean, all of us, even your birth partner, can benefit from relaxation. I actually, years ago, was at a park with my little kids, and there was this little girl who kept following me around the park. And finally, her mom came up to me and she said, "I hope it's okay that my daughter's staying so close to you. She recognizes your voice." And I said, "What?" She said that when she was pregnant, she would listen to one of the visualizations that I'm going to talk about. It's called a rainbow chakra meditation. And that she liked it so much that she listened to it even after she was pregnant to relax. And sometimes her daughter would come in when she was listening to it. And then her daughter really loved it. She wanted it turned on at nap time. And she often says rainbow at night and wants this meditation turned on. And then she heard my voice at the at the park and was just wanting to be close to me. It was so sweet. So these are wonderful, however you use them in your life. We're talking about them specific for childbirth, but rock on, you can use them however you want. The main point is that relaxation is going to benefit you in childbirth. So let's begin by talking about the technique of mantra. And the technique of mantra, from what I know, comes from Buddhism. Maybe it doesn't. I think mantras in Hinduism probably is in all different traditions. The way I was introduced to it, I should say, is from my kindergarten level knowledge of Buddhism, which will keep me busy for the rest of my life. I'm deeply grateful for the lessons. And the thing that is so beautiful about a mantra is it gives your mind something to do. And depending on the mantra, it could be one word that you repeat in your mind. It could be a phrase that you repeat in your mind. It could be multiple phrases. So we're going to talk through all these options. But the thing that can be relaxing about mantra is that it gives your brain a place to be. And it's almost like chewing gum, right? It's got a repetitive energy to it. And one of the things that is important to know, and that we will talk about more in a little while, is that repetitive things are very relaxing. It's part of why we rock our baby, right? And it's part of why we, sometimes when we're anxious, we might, knock our foot back and forth. You can't see my foot, but knock our foot back and forth or tap our fingers. Repetition calms us. And so there's something about repeating something in your mind that has that same calming influence. When we talk about touch, we're going to talk about very gentle, repetitive touch. So the thing about mantra is that it's almost like chewing gum for the mind. So rather than having your mind unattended, meaning we're not conscious of where it's going, which means that when you have a contraction, if you're not paying attention to where your mind goes, your contraction is going to go right to your cramping sensation of your cervix opening, potentially, if you're in the first stage. And if you feel discomfort, your body could then start to worry. So this is what our unattended mind does all the time. As a marriage and family therapist, I work with this with people every day. I work with it in my own mind every day. The fear part of our mind is very strong. It's gotten us here, in some ways. It helps us survive, but it can also be incredibly daunting to get out of the way when we want to. So mantra is one of the ways of releasing our attention to fear and putting our attention on a relaxing image. So a mantra could be the word love that you repeat over and over again. I like doing mantras that have at least two parts to them so that I have an inhale and an exhale, and then I pair my breath with them. It's not a have to, for sure, but it's something that I really like to do. So there may be a mantra like, I am, with every breath, I'm getting closer to my baby. With every breath, I'm getting closer to my baby as you inhale and as you exhale. So you're reminding yourself that you're in labor, which is actually a technique, because mom can get so focused on the contraction that she's in and what she's experiencing in her body in that moment that she literally loses the forest for the trees and forgets what is happening on the bigger picture. And being reminded that at the end of this journey, you're going to have a beautiful being that you love in your arms is such a blessing, to remind you that this is not going to last forever and why you're doing it in the first place. So there are beautiful mantras. You can find lists of mantras in different places. I've had so many students choose their own mantras. And so I want to tell you a few of them. One student chose "This too shall pass." Another said that she wanted to remind herself to trust her body. So at some points she was saying, I trust my body, I trust my baby, I trust my body, I trust my baby, with inhale and exhale. And she said at other points in her labor, it switched and became bring it on, because she knew that she could handle more than what she was experiencing. Like, this doesn't scare me, bring it on. I love that. Just like love can be a beautiful one-word mantra, peace can be a one-word mantra, surrender. You could pair them together. It could be peace, surrender, love, breathe. There are lots of options. With each breath, I'm getting closer to my baby. My body's wise, trust the process. I'm okay, everything's okay. If my baby can do it, I can do it. I have such creative students. We're sending love to our baby. I'm strong. I trust my body. I'm safe. I'm loved. So these are just examples of mantras that others have come up with to help spark your own thinking about what feels relaxing to you, what do you want to be reminded of, and what do you want to be going through your system repeatedly, almost like you're rocking your own soul, right? So with doing this, choosing it ahead of time can be really beautiful. I just thought of another one that a beautiful couple that already had one child told me, which is they said their four names together. So they said mama's name, they said dad's name, they said their first child's name, and then they said the name of their incoming baby that they were birthing. And she said that while they were doing that, it felt like they were knitting their family together in labor, and that their child was the missing piece, and that it was just such a beautiful image. I want to make sure to pass that one on too. So in repeating mantra and using your breath, you can do it however you want. You can do it in preparation for labor. I know I do mantras when I'm stuck in traffic. I do mantras when my kids are driving me crazy. I can do mantras when I'm just in a bad mood, when anything is feeling like it's causing tension to me. The mantra is this reminder to open, right? Open. So anything that can help you remember to release tension is going to be helpful in labor. You want to be a limp jellyfish, is what I think of it. Like, you have no bones as much as possible. Of course, if you're upright on your hands and knees, you can't be quite as limp, but you're going to be changing positions. And I know for me, sometimes lying on my side when I was in labor, I just felt like I melted into the bed. And even remembering those words to tell yourself or have your birth partner remind you to be a jellyfish and melt into the bed, to be in a birth tub where you are being completely submerged and held so that you don't have to hold yourself. There's so many ways of being supported in labor and then allowing yourself to really surrender and release energy. And so the words that you say in your own mantra can be helpful for that. So it could be that you just focus on the mantra when you're in the midst of contraction. So let's just say you're sitting there chatting with the people that you've chosen to be at your birth with you. And then when a contraction starts coming, it doesn't just start like boom, boom, and last 90 seconds. Your muscles are tightening. And so it's almost like a bell curve, and then they're letting go. So you have a little bit of a heads up, right? Oh, here it's starting. And so I can get into my position that feels really comfortable, where my belly's hanging off my spine. I can go back to my balloon breath and I can start that mantra. And if I'm doing the balloon breath, it's going to be a very slow mantra. That's fine, unless I'm, filling that whole inhale space with imagery. And you can absolutely do that and repeat it. So mantra is incredibly flexible, customizable. You can do so many things with it. And I think that's really helpful to know. So in a prior video, I told the story of the Get Huge mantra, which is my personal favorite mantra for childbirth, as you know, if you've already watched that video. And if you haven't, I encourage you to watch it. And I want to tell you the story of my third birth, my third baby, because I had my second baby in 90 minutes. And because I was birthing at home, my midwives were only there for about 5 or 10 minutes before my baby was born. And so that was pretty shocking to all of us. And so between the time my second baby was born and my third baby was born, we moved. And I had to find new midwives. And on the one hand, that was incredibly sad because I loved my midwives for my first two babies. But it was also great because I found a wonderful person in our new town. Home birth midwives are wonderful people. And so when we told her the stories of our first two children, she said, "Oh, wow, okay. So third babies are a toss-up. Second babies are always easier than first babies, assuming they're in a good position. But third babies are just a little bit of a toss-up. It could go faster, and it can also take longer. So we don't know. But if it goes faster than 90 minutes, I may not make it." So she taught us unattended home birth. Yikes. Things I never wanted to know. How to get the cord off from the baby's neck and check if there's a cord, how to deal with bleeding, all kinds of things that were just very medicalized, and also really wise for her to teach that to us, so that if I had a super fast labor, we weren't panicking. So I'm very grateful for that, and also very grateful we didn't have to use those techniques. She made it in time. But on the day that my baby ended up being born, it was a beautiful Sunday morning. I woke up after having a decent night's sleep, and I sat down on the potty and went pee and pee and pee, and finally realized, wait a second, there's no way I'm still peeing. And this was the first time that the way I knew I was in labor was because my bag of waters, the amniotic sac, was leaking. And so that was my clue to tune in. And lo and behold, I was having very gentle contractions, but I'd been having gentle contractions for weeks. And I had just a couple days ago passed the 37-week marker. And as in my second birth, I had put on the calendar, get huge at the 37-week mark, because that's the safe date for being able to stay at home. You know, your baby's fully cooked when you get past 37 weeks. And so I'd only been doing the Get Huge mantra for about 3 days. And I just didn't expect to be in labor yet. So I called my husband because I didn't want to get up off the potty, and he was still in bed, and said like, "Hey, hun, I think I might be in labor." And he jumped up with these huge eyes, looked at me, asked me why. I told him, and he said, "I'm gonna go fill the tub." And he took off. So I was kind of stuck, and laboring on the potty is a great place to labor. So I stayed there for a while, and he got 2 hoses to fill the birth tub this time, to fill it twice as fast. And we were all just on edge, like, I don't know how this is all gonna go. My boys were still asleep, and so I was by myself. Eventually, I figured out how to get up, and my bag of waters hadn't broken. It was just leaking slowly, and the amniotic fluid replenishes itself. It's not something to worry about. It just, the bag of waters hadn't broken in my first labor until my baby was almost out, and my second labor, it never broke. So this was just a new experience. So I got back in bed and laid down on my side, and I was doing my balloon breath, and I was not doing the get huge mantra because I thought it's just too effective. I can't do that mantra because I don't know if my midwife is going to be here at what time. So I'm going to wait till she gets here to do the get huge mantra. And I was relaxed, and soon my boys were climbing on top of me, all excited that the baby was going to be born that day. And in all the preparations, I was pretty much left alone. You know, my husband had to get the boys ready, had to get the birth tub ready, had to call the midwives and the neighbors and the babysitters, one for each in case one wanted to be there and one didn't. And all that scurrying around, he told me when the birth tub was filled, which was in record time. So I got into it, and I was by myself in my baby's room in the birth tub, and the sunlight was coming in through the window and hitting the water and making patterns over the wall. He put on beautiful Krishna Das music, which I love. And I was just doing the balloon breath. And I was so enthralled with my sensory experience because as I was doing it, I was rising in the water and descending in the water and rising and descending. I was kind of leaning forward, and just as I breathed, even when I was leaning back, as I breathed, I was just floating and then going down a little bit. It felt so good. There's that relaxation, right? Like we're rocking our baby or rocking in a rocking chair that makes our bodies go, we're okay. So, and these contractions were super mild. And I had been practicing long, strong contractions really close together. That's what I practiced, 90-second contractions during the end of my pregnancy and my other pregnancies. And nobody was timing my contractions, but they were definitely not even close to 90 seconds. I would guess they were less than a minute long. So it felt completely manageable. I wasn't even doing most of the relaxation techniques that I'm going to teach you. I was so grateful to have them, but I didn't feel like I needed anything in that moment except to be where I was. And then, poof, in popped a mantra. And it popped in because I was just focusing on my breath and focusing on relaxing. And this is a mantra that I've done for over a decade at that time, that I learned while I was hiking the Inca Trail in a book on Buddhism, and I just loved. And I had been doing it for years and years and years at that point, and it always brought me so much joy and surrender, and just a reminder of how I want to be in my life. So when it came in, it just felt like I was being gifted this old friend, and it just wrapped me up in its yumminess and gave me a place to rest and a place to put my focus when I needed to. So that mantra has 4 parts. So, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. So, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. repeat, repeat. May my baby be filled with loving kindness. May my baby be well. May my baby be peaceful and at ease. May my baby be happy. May my husband, may my son, may my best friend, may the whole entire world, right? This is a loving kindness meditation that is so yummy. And it just rocked me. And I completely lost track of time. And suddenly, the midwife was there. And she checked me, and I was 9 centimeters dilated. And someone called next door. My boys came back, babysitters, husband's now in the tub, and he's ready. All right. He's finally got all of his attention on me. We have practiced every technique known to man many times. And he's like, okay, what do you want? I'm like, I'm good. He's like, don't want me to do a head to toe relaxation? Rainbow chakra meditation? Like, he's got all of them down. Vacation visualization, light touch massage, anything. And I was like, yeah, light touch massage sounds great. And I'm good. So that's what we did. And I had my belly hanging off my spine for one more contraction, or maybe two. He had his fingers coming up and down my spine, which we're going to talk about soon. And I just knew that my body was fully dilated because I started to feel the urge to push. So I told the midwife, and she said, you know, I just checked you. You were 9 centimeters. It's possible you're 10, but just don't add anything to the push, right? Don't try. Just follow your body's lead. And so I had a few more pretty gentle urges to push. And then there it was, like the urge to push like nobody's business, which, as we talked about in a much earlier video that talks all about stage 2, the urge to push is just the wrong word for it. It's not a, I really, really want to push. It's like, no, my body is pushing. And I'm like, I better either go with it or I'm going to be fighting it, right? Just like when you have the urge to poop and there's just no stopping it. Sometimes you can stop it. Other times, hell no, you better just go with it. So this was definitely a moment to go with it. And I felt her approaching the perineum really quickly. And I looked down, and there is my baby's head coming out all the way to the tops of her ears, and the contraction stops. And at that moment, I just remember thinking, oh my God, thank God I have this mantra, or I would freak out. I am full of baby just sitting here, like stretched to my ultimate capacity. Like my perineum is stretched to its ultimate capacity. Like, and I didn't tear. Amazing. Our bodies are amazing. And I need to relax. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful at ease. May I be happy. You know, just trying to stay open. And I remember hearing one of my boys say, that doesn't look like a baby. I couldn't even laugh at that time, but it gave me so much joy to just imagine, like, what in the world must they be seeing right now? So, and then the next contraction came so gently. And I looked down and I watched her being born from the top of her ears all the way. And because I was only 36 weeks, she was covered in vernix. It looks like someone had lathered her in white ointment all over. It was striped and streaked from birth. And my boys started laughing. And I didn't know why until they told me, and then I saw it in the pictures. Somehow I did not see this, but my daughter was born streaked in white with her tongue sticking out, like she was already playing a joke on her brothers. It was so perfect. And I had been making so much noise, right? I almost forgot that part. I mean, my boys come in from being next door playing with friends, and here's mama like, you know, making groaning and moaning. And I had told them I am going to be loud because being loud helps get babies out. But I knew I was going to be loud because I was loud the first 2 times. And for me, it does help get babies out. For some women, they feel much better being quiet, but relaxation and quiet do not necessarily go hand in hand, at least not in this body. So give yourself permission. So she came out super slowly, so slowly that I caught her. Right? When we have the pictures, the midwife's hands aren't even in the tub. And my husband's got like his backup hands. And I pulled her up to my chest and watched her unfurl, watched her eyes open, watched her cry for a second, and then, try to blink those eyes open with all that vernix all over her face. It was just a miracle, with my boys right there, like hands on the edge of the tub, wanting to see, wanting to kiss her. My son Kai, I think, was the first one to even kiss her. So what a blessing. And so to me, that mantra was my companion, because my birth partner was busy and this all was very fast. And that mantra has been my companion in life. And so I tell this story wanting you to find a relationship to a mantra. It's not just something you memorize. It's something you feel in your body that helps you go, oh yeah, right. It's like this constant reminder every time you say it, every time you breathe it, every time you repeat it, that helps you come back over and over again. Just like we've talked about before, about that scale of discomfort of 1 to 10. 1, you feel almost no discomfort, or we would say no discomfort at all. 10, I can't do this anymore. And these techniques are meant to take you back down that scale, back to relaxation over and over and over again. And so that's part of what a mantra can do. You don't have to stay in a place of relaxation your entire labor, or else you're in trouble. It's just coming back to it. So please work on a mantra that feels like medicine for your soul, and then practice it.